Hi everyone, welcome to our newest webinar. My name is Anka and I'm here to walk you through SocialBee today. I'm a customer success specialist here at SocialBee, in case you don't know me, and I am curious where all of you are from, just to start some conversation while we are gathering live here. So if you can hear me okay, if you can see me okay, let me know where you're from and what you're hoping to learn in today's webinar. Before we get started and while people are starting to join, I am just going to set a few ground rules. First of all, our webinar is recorded, so you will be getting an email after our webinar once the video is processed, just to have the recording on hand. Second thing here is that you'll see my colleague Roxana in the chat, and she's there to help me manage all of your questions. So if you have any questions, and this is actually the third ground rule of this webinar, if you have any questions, the Q&A section will be at the end of the event. And so if you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat your questions, starting with the word question, so Roxana can see them fast and get them over to me so that I can answer the questions that you have. So I'll just start by sharing my screen and starting with a few general things here. I can see Kate from Oklahoma hoping to utilize SocialBee more effectively. Well, Kate, I truly hope that I can make that happen for you. If you have any questions, make sure to drop them, and then we can also talk after that if needed. So I'm glad to see people are starting to join. Chat from Massachusetts as well. Hi, nice to see you all. Thank you for joining. Let me just go ahead and share my screen with you guys. Just give me a second. Hold on. I think I should be ready now. Just a second. Doom, doom, doom. Let's see. Can you see my screen? You should be able to see my screen. Yes, awesome. Okay, so today's webinar is about analytics, using SocialBee's newest analytics. And if you don't know, SocialBee recently turned 6 years old. We've celebrated with lots of honey. And in honor of that, we've decided that we revamp our analytics. Our analytics have been in the back burner for quite a while, and now we've decided to make them one of the most important features of SocialBee. So we're gonna go through the newest changes in the analytics, how can you best utilize them to your advantage, and hope that it works for the best. So what will we learn today? We are going to talk about how analytics can help your social media strategy. But before I do that, if you don't know SocialBee, we're a social media management tool that can help you create, publish, and analyze your content so that you can have a better understanding and better control over your content strategy. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today, in connection to the analytics part as well. So let's talk a little bit before we dive into the analytics about the first two steps. If you're in, like I hope you are. So the first step is to create your content, right? And you can do that in SocialBee. And actually, you know what? I just shared one tab. So let me just stop sharing that. And I will share the entire screen for now. Let me see if I can do that. Let's go for the entire screen. Yes, okay. So you should now be able to see my entire screen. And let's go into SocialBee so that I can show you while I walk you through it and save a little bit of time in that sense. You can see right now our SocialBee Dashboard. This is where you get to connect and set up your profiles. These are all the profiles that you can connect to SocialBee, and I'm not going into a lot of detail here because we are on a little bit of a time crunch. I'm trying to get this webinar in under 1 hour. So in the dashboard, you'll be able to connect and set up your profiles, but then it's time to use the content menu to create your content. And you can do that in one of the two systems that SocialBee works with. Content without a category, which is a queue-based system, meaning that you set up a queue of your posts specifically scheduled at individual times, or you can use the category-based system, which offers three main advantages. Number one, you can organize your content better, and as you can see, that happens way better with using categories for each type of content that you have available. Number two, you get to create your content mix. This helps with scheduling. I'll get through there in a minute. And number three, you have the ability to recycle your content, especially if your content is not time sensitive. So there are several ways in which you can import content into these categories, which, by the way, you can create and set up to your liking, so you can color code them, set up any short links or anything like that. You'll see that you have a lot of importing tools here on the right, on the left, sorry, I don't know my left and right, so that you can import content in bulk. And if you don't want to do that, you can always just use the post editor to create your content directly in SocialBee. And I'll walk you through quickly on how you can create a post. I'll just select four of the main platforms that I've noticed a lot of our users tend to use. So let's just add some text here and link. I'll just type in socialbee.io, and what you can see is that quite immediately on the right side of your screen, you'll see a preview of what each of these profiles, what the post looks like on each one of these profiles. And you'll also be able to see if there are any problems with your post. In this case, the fact that I have selected Instagram, which is not will not allow links to go through. And so in that case, I would need to remove the link and replace it with an image. I can do that directly in the post editor. I can design with Canva. I can add a photo from my computer. And just as a little teaser, there are more options coming through on that front as well. Or what I can do is I can click on customize for each profile once I have my common elements for that post. And that way I can work on individually bringing in a post for Instagram. And I can bring in an image directly from that link, or I can upload my own and all of that. Once I customize for each profile, you'll also see some extra features popping up for Instagram specifically. We have the add first comment feature to help you with engagement. You can use this to prompt your audience to reply more to your posts and engage with them. You can tag users directly on your image on Instagram by just adding their username here, or you can also add hashtags from your collections that are set up and a location if it's connected to your Facebook page. A few other features that you'll see in this post editor are the ability to add variations to your content so that it stays fresh even though it gets republished. To give you an example, if you're promoting a discovery call like we are, you can just promote the calendar link with different benefits every single time. And so even though the link would be the same, the benefit highlighted in the caption area would be different, or you could just include a testimonial every now and then, or things like that. And you can just cycle through them like that so that you don't waste time creating new content every single day revolving around the same idea. Next, you have your options to choose when to schedule, and this is actually when we're going into the second step of our structure, so to speak, scheduling your content. There are two ways of doing that. You have some options to schedule your content directly in the post editor, and you can see here that you also have a toggle to post it immediately if you want to, and if not, you can post it at one or multiple specific times. Now I have mine set up to 24-hour format here, but you can also add it as AM, PM. So let me just go for 8, on the 15th. Let's go for 8. Hello, my keyboard is not working. Okay, so 8:10 a.m. on June 15th. This is when I will schedule this post. And then once I did that, I can always go ahead and bring in more scheduled times. This is a good practice if you need to schedule something maybe on the 1st of every month or on specific days. But if you just want your content to go out there and you don't necessarily have a specific day in mind to do so, you can just select a category, let's say marketing news, and then you can just schedule that category instead, and I'll show you how to do that next. Before I do that though, you also have a few options here on how you can requeue your content and expire it either after it's been published a number of times or at a specific date. And I always give this example, I know, but you never want a Happy New Year post in mid-July. So you can prevent that type of post from going out at the wrong time by setting up an expiration date. Once you're happy with your content and you've created it, you can go ahead and save it either as approved from this toggle here at the bottom right corner, or you can just set it to draft mode if someone else needs to review it, if you want to take a closer look at it maybe the next day or something like that, and then you can just save your post and it'll be done. Cool. Okay, so we've created the content, we've imported content, we've approved the content, which by the way, we also have a content approval tab allowing you to look at your draft content to make sure that you can review it. That's also something that works very well with the social media specialist service that we have here at SocialBee. And yeah, before I forget, if you want to see these features in more detail, because we're not focusing on them today, you can always go to our webinars page, and Roxy, can you please add it to the chat? And you can see our previous webinars where I go more in detail into how you can use your categories, how you can use the post editor better, and things like that. If I go into the schedule setup, let's see where that is. Here it goes. So the schedule setup is the third icon on the left in your menu, and this is where you'll schedule your categories. The best example I can give here that I can see most people understanding is if you have a category that you want to schedule on a specific day, like a Motivation Monday category. Instead of staying in all day and looking at your calendar, what date is the third Monday of March? You can just schedule the category Motivation Monday on every Monday at 9 a.m. And what that does is that it queues up all the posts in that category, all the approved posts, of course, so that they go out in a top to bottom order. So the first Monday, the first post on the top goes out. The second Monday, the second post goes out, and so on and so forth until it goes through all of the content in that category. If your category is set to evergreen, once it reaches the bottom, if you haven't added anything new, it starts back up from the top and cycles through the content again. So that's very easy to work with, and it requires minimal effort from everyone involved. What you're seeing here, by the way, is our schedule for all of the connected profiles. So it may seem like a lot, but you can always filter for different categories, or you can filter for different profiles to kind of get a better understanding of your schedule for each profile. And we also have a best practices schedule that's generated according to best practices, and it's based on the preset categories that you may find in your account when you first get started. If you don't have that, random categories will appear and you can switch them out with your own categories wherever you need them to. Another cool thing that you'll see here, and I'll show it to you in more detail once I drink a little bit of water, is the schedule stats. The schedule stats here will give you a better understanding of your content mix. If you're following something like the 80-20 rule, you can use 80% of your content to promote educational content, so to provide value to your audience, whereas the rest of 20% of your content will be geared towards promoting your actual business, products, or services. So in order to do that, you can look at this and see, okay, so I have my promotional category here. I know that it's supposed to be 20%. I see that it's 28. Maybe I'm oversharing a little bit, so maybe I can balance it out by removing one or adding more valuable content in between. So you can make sure that you have the right mix over there. When you're working with categories, because you're working with categories, you don't exactly know what's next in line to get scheduled. So in order for you to get a better understanding of that, you can look at your next posts and filter for individual profiles. So I'm going to filter for Facebook here, and you can see your next 100 posts going out. You can see all of the posts that we have lined up, just so that you get a better understanding of your content that's next in line to go out. And you have actually 3 ways of viewing this: as a list, which is what you're seeing right now; as a calendar view, which is more of an overview, best used if you need to look for any missing pieces. So for instance, we don't have any content in the educational and promotional categories starting from next week. So I know when we do our next batch of content, we should focus on those categories first. For Instagram specifically, and I'm going to switch to Instagram here so that I can show you, there's also a grid preview, which is most helpful when you have a theme going on, when you have a color palette that you'd like to stick to. And apparently I have nothing scheduled on Instagram, so I can't show it to you. But pretty much what happens is that once you have content that's scheduled, it will pop up in your grid here so that you can see if it aligns with your current scheme. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second and check in on all of you and see if everything is up to standard. Are you getting any value out of this? Are you seeing this as interesting? If so, and I hope so, we're going to dive into the analytics part, which is the 3rd step in leveraging SocialBee's full potential. So in order for me to do that, let me share my screen once again. I can see that everyone is okay. So I'm going back into the slide share here, and let's talk about analytics, right? So analytics are there to make your efforts better. You can look at them at a way to using your data to follow up on your next steps for your marketing strategy so that you know that your marketing strategy stays fresh and effective for your audience. This is because whatever worked last quarter might not work this quarter, and this is also true for any 2 similar businesses. If your friend who's in the same industry as you did this and it worked, it might not work the same for you because you may have different audiences. So always keep that in mind when working on analytics. Now, let's go in a little bit more in depth on what type of analytics you should be tracking based on your marketing objectives. And I'm not going into a lot of detail here, but you can always look at awareness metrics, which pretty much indicates how memorable and recognizable a brand is. I'm sure you've always heard of brand awareness. It's one of the biggest things that you can do with social media. More than sales, social media and content in general are there to bring you brand awareness. Keeping your brand top of mind is essential, and it's a step that can trigger your entire customer journey later on. So if you have a goal of exposing your brand to a larger audience, you can look at mentions, social shares, followers, things like that, in order to look at your awareness metrics. However, if your goal is to build a loyal social community around your brand, this already centers around engagement. And so you're going to look at engagement metrics, like clicks on your post, clicks on your links, likes, and all of that information specific to your posts instead of your profile. The more engagement you generate, the more social media networks will boost your content. And so we're going back into the awareness part, which is where more people will be able to see your content, and it will essentially bring you closer to your customers. Keeping your audience engaged ensures that you have the ability to retain your existing customers, to add new leads, to stay top of mind, which is very important, and to post content that resonates with your existing audience. So let's talk about a few metrics that can generate conversion, right? We can also sell on social media, even if that's not the primary goal of social media, but you should always have business goals or marketing goals that revolve around conversions as well. And by the way, a conversion is never necessarily a sale. It can be a new booked appointment, it can be a newsletter subscription, it can be any of those. So if you want to see if your social media posts translate better to website traffic or to new sales, you can monitor these specific metrics that I've shared here on the screen. And next we have ROI, which stands for return on investment. And obviously the ultimate marketing goal is to generate profit and make good investments that return more than just the resources you put into them. And so making sure that you look into what profiles work for you, what types of content work for you, will eventually give you more return on your investment in time, effort, and money, of course, so that you can make the most out of your social media. So these are the metrics that you would be able to look at if you were interested in measuring your return on investment. Of course, social media, and you might have heard me say this before, is also about customer care. It's one of the most efficient ways in which you can do customer support these days. And so it's not only to interact with brands for customers, but it's also where they can share opinions, they can share any problems that they have so that the brand can have them visible and fix them quicker. And so always keep that in mind, especially if you're in the services area, if you're in e-commerce and things like that, which tend to have a bigger need for customer support rather than, I don't know, something else. Right. Then social media performance, which is obviously something that's very important because when you create your strategy, let's say for the next 3 months, you're going to have to take a step back and look at what went well and what didn't in what you've previously created. And sure, I've previously said that what worked in the second quarter might not work in the third, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't look into what worked and why. And that's the key. So looking at your social media analytics, comparing your results with the previous timeframes, you'll discover what what types of posts you're sharing, what works, how your strategy evolves over time. And you can look at your strengths and your weaknesses so that you can leverage that and make sure the types of content that work best for your audience are pushed forward in this new quarter, as opposed to the last one. Hope I'm making a lot of sense here. So I think it's time for us to look at different types of analytics that you can do based on different types of content that you have. And I have here the three main, I guess, pillars of content that you can do in social media: promotional, educational, and entertaining. You can take these as the holy trinity of social media content, if you will. And it's important to realize that not all content types serve the same purpose. For instance, promotional obviously will be there to promote your business, to promote your services, your products, all of that. Entertaining is there to keep your audience on your page. Social media is social in the end. And so you want to give them something to maintain their attention. Entertain them with things like memes or infographics, depending on your industry and the tone of voice that you normally use. And then educational is always a side that works best with brands, because you're educating your audience on a specific topic that you're considered to be an expert you're considered to be an expert in, because you're already in that industry. And so it's your opportunity to educate your audience on that. The only one of these goals that is going to provide conversions for you in matter of sales is going to be the promotional one. However, we can get conversions into newsletter subscriptions, ebook downloads, and things like that from the educational one, and some extra page likes, some followers on the entertaining side as well. So never disregard them. I think I've said a lot in just a little time. So I think that's all I have to say about the analytics part as theory. Let's stop sharing this and going back into SocialBee so that I can show you exactly how analytics have been improved in SocialBee. So let me go ahead and share this again. You will be able to see our analytics now. Let me go for Facebook. Oops, I said Facebook. Cool. So analytics, it's the fifth menu on the left side here in the SocialBee menu, and it will give you insights on how each one of your profile performs. So you'll have the ability to filter for each one of your individual profiles. For now, you will not be able to see this as a whole across all of your profiles. You also have an option to select a specific time frame for when you want to see analytics. And by the way, for Facebook specifically, I do believe that we go 2 years into the past. So that's something that you should keep in mind, even if you've just connected your account to SocialBee. So you have this custom period of time or presets that you can go through, and you can look at different analytics. Now, before I talk in depth about what each analytic is here, let me just say that we've currently launched the revamped version of analytics for Facebook and Instagram, and I do believe TikTok is there as well. However, we still have some work to do, and LinkedIn company page analytics are coming up, I believe, next week or in the next 2 weeks. And by the end of the month, we hope to have Google My Business Analytics revamped and some other fun stuff like exportable reports from your analytics. Hopefully it will get done sooner, but I'm just saying by the end of the month to give some time. Cool. So for Facebook, let's take Facebook as an example. First thing what you'll see is that you have 3 tabs here. You have page analytics, focusing on anything regarding to your page. You'll see post analytics for any metrics regarding specific to your post and some extra insights that I'll go through in a minute. You may see differences in what types of analytics and what types of metrics you're getting with each platform, because for instance, Facebook will show you likes count on your Facebook page, but you'll see followers on Instagram. You'll be able to see different types of analytics based on what each type of platform allows. And so keep that in mind. Now, for the most part, these are all the same, so let's talk about them. You'll have your average number of posts for the time frame that you chose, just so that you have a better idea of how much you're posting, how consistent you are with your posting, and it will tell you if you've increased this goal so that you can have a better metric as well. You'll see your page growth, engagement rate for your page and your posts, as well as an average reach to know exactly where you stand with that. Then you'll see your vanity metrics, is what I call them. They're just part of the actual vanity metrics, but it's the most important part here. So the like counts on your Facebook page, the followers on your Instagram, on your Twitter, things like that. You'll see them all here very nicely so that you get a better understanding of how your page likes evolve. And so in this case, if you see a tall peak like this, it means you've done something that might have nudged your audience to like your page more than usual. So maybe you've done a contest, maybe your post went viral, or maybe something happened that caused people to be more interested in your page. You'll also be able to see this as a gained versus lost type of thing, so that you get a better understanding of why audiences are leaving, why they're coming, and so on. You also have demographic information here so that you get a better idea of who your current audience is on that platform, and you can look at whether or not that audience is the same as your target audience, or if you should maybe move over to a better audience for your business. You'll see things like the distribution of language, you'll see geographical distribution, you'll be able to see engagement based on the likes, comments, shares, or engagement rate of your posts on each of the selected days from your time frame, as well as distribution. That's the word I was looking for. The distribution of your posts during a week, so that you get a better understanding of when's the best time to post your content to your audience. So if I look at this, the more darker the yellow is, the better, the more people have seen it. And so we know for a fact that 7 a.m. on any given day will be a good fit for our posting. However, maybe 10 p.m. will not be as good. Cool. So that was for the page analytics. Now we go through the post analytics, and it's a bit different here because you have the option to see your average posts per day. So in this case, we're moving away from the average posts in the time frame and going to a daily average for your posts, for your reach, whether it's your entire reach, whether it's your paid reach, or your organic reach as well. And you'll also get information on the best type of posts that you're sharing. So you can always share links, you can always share images, carousels, videos, even GIFs. So all of these types of posts perform differently on different platforms. Instagram, for instance, just announced that they're going more video centric, and so image posts will not perform as well as a reel, as a video. So you might need to look into what each type of post performs so that you get a better understanding of the types of content that you need to share with your audience. And so we're seeing your evolution of your posts here. You'll see your evolution of posts or your reach for each type of post that you can share, as well as category metrics and post type metrics or post metrics. So post type is exactly what I mentioned before. You can look at each type of post that you're sharing and see what works best. In our case, links work better than single images. On Facebook, on Instagram, things might be different. For the category metrics, it can help you balance out your content mix and see what types of content are of interest to your audience as opposed to what you think is interesting. And so in this scenario, you can look at it and see, okay, so my audience really likes the marketing news category, meaning I might be able to swap out maybe one more post from the blog post instead and schedule marketing news so that my audience has more value in that way. And then in the post metrics here, you can look at your individual posts, sorting them the way you want based on the filter that you choose. And you can look at things like what post was that, what category it went from, and by the way, if it wasn't shared with SocialBee, it's just gonna say external post there. And you can look at things like the number of likes that it has, clicks, replies, shares, impressions, engagement rate, and so on. And so you can do this for all of your posts within or without SocialBee. Okay. Cool. And then the last tab that I have here is the Insights tab, which will give you some extra insights on your profile's performance and overall on how your content is doing. So you'll see the distribution during the day for one or all of your categories based on most engagement or most likes or whichever one of these filters that you prefer. And you'll be able to see this as a bubble or as a heat map so that you get a better understanding of what category works how. So with the bubble, I like it better. I think it's more visual with the bubble part. Pretty much you can see per category what each of these work and how their engagement is growing. So I can see that the promotional one is pretty big on engagement. You'll then have your top 3 categories so that you get a better understanding of what categories have worked in this period of time. And you also see your top 3 post types as well as your top 3 posts for the time frame that you selected, just so that you have a better understanding of what works in general for each one of your posts. And that's really all there is to SocialBee's analytics right now. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and head over to the chat, see if you have any questions. I'll grab my phone so that I can go through the document and see any questions that I have here. Let's see where they are. Give me just a second. I'll give you enough time to ask any questions if you don't have any added yet. Cool. So I think I have only one question here. Must mean I've either been very specific or not specific enough. I'm curious to know which one that is. So the only question that I have here is, can we post IG Reels, Stories, and TikToks supported with analytics, metrics from your SocialBee platform? The answer is yes and no. I'll just take it one by one and say, yes, you can share Instagram Reels, Instagram Stories, TikToks through SocialBee. Specifically for Instagram, Reels and Stories can be shared via notifications on your phone because Instagram currently doesn't allow direct scheduling for these ones right now. But once you have them selected on your SocialBee and scheduled, they will send you a notification on your phone once it's time to publish the content, and you'll have it all there. So the video for the reels or videos, the cover image if you want, the caption and all of it, so that you just have to go into the SocialBee into the Instagram app and paste the caption and send it on its way. When it comes to analytics, however, TikTok, yes, because it's a separate platform and it does provide some analytics. Instagram at the moment only provides analytics for feed posts, so reels are not included in that. And so unfortunately, we won't be able to bring in a lot of information on that. However, if any of that changes for Instagram in the future, it's going to be a top priority for us to include it as well. The next question I have here is, can we get stats on Reels? And I think I just answered this. At the moment, you can't, unfortunately, but if it ever happens that we will, you will. Next question here is from Christina. What do you recommend in terms of taking the insights and making the next practical step? Sometimes I get overwhelmed by the amount of analytics and deciding what to do with the info. So the reason why I went over the types of metrics that you can use or take advantage of based on your goals is that first you need to know exactly what you want to achieve. So that would be the first step. Set up your goals. I want more followers. I want more brand awareness. I want more sales. I want more newsletter subscribers. Name them and then add a number to them so that you have it as specific as you can. So I want 2,000 newsletter subscribers in the next quarter. I want 3 sales per week. I don't know. So you have to make it as specific as you can. And so based on your goals, you can look at each one of the metrics that are relevant to your goals, the ones that I mentioned earlier, and that you will be able to see in the recording as well. So if you wanted more awareness, if you want more followers, you can look at any awareness metrics and engagement metrics to see what's working, what's bringing in the people to your page, and what's keeping them there, and continue doing that as opposed to what isn't working. Let's see. Then once you have all of that insight, you can start looking at your strategy, and then you can improve on what's not working or switch it out with something that might be working better for you. And just as a side note, there's always going to be testing that's going to be needed. So always save a little bit of your strategy for testing new things, testing new content, and things like that. Next question is, can you elaborate more on insights? So I'm not sure if what I just said applies to you. If not, I'm not exactly sure what I should elaborate on. So can you please be more specific, Raul? Did my previous explanation answer this in the meantime or no? Waiting to see on a chat reply. If not, and if you need any further explanations, you can always email us either at hello@socialbee.io or me personally at anca@socialbee.io, and we'll be more than happy to reply with any answers there. As well as you can always book a call with us, with me, with my colleagues, and we can answer any questions that you have there as well. Awesome. Rosanna already put the booking a call in the chat there. And I also see the reply from Raul saying, I saw in presentation left and side by the graph. So let's see where you mean. Oh, okay. So you mean the distribution of content, I believe. Let me just share my screen quickly again and go through it. So I think this is what you mean, the Insights tab. In this case, the distribution of your content during the day tells you more information on how each one of your category performs based on engagement level right now, but I can also share it or see it based on which category has the most likes. And in this case, I can look at it and see that the biggest bubble is the educational one. And so I know by looking at this that I should maybe focus more of my efforts into educational content if my goal is to achieve more engagement. You can always look at it differently and see which ones add more comments. You can look at the shares to see which one brings you more value. And I can see that the promotional category specifically on Tuesdays works better than the other ones. So this is it's a very interesting and effective way of looking at your categories and seeing exactly what works and when, which is very, very valuable. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, awesome. Okay, last thing before I go, last call on the questions, by the way. So if you still have any questions, now's the time. And if not, if you're still not a SocialBee user and you want to give it a go, you can always use the webinar 20 code to give SocialBee a go. And I look forward to talking to you more inside the platform. And so that being said, I see that there are no other questions. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Yes, this video session is recorded. I can't speak anymore. It's the end of the day for me, sorry. So this session is recorded and you will all get an email recording of it once you registered for this webinar. And I guess I will see you all on my next webinar, probably sometime next month. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Roxana, for being here with me in the chat. Thank you all for being here live or watching the recording and joining us here. So if you have any other questions, we'll be happy to talk to you on email or in a call. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you got a lot of value from this webinar.